It's a plane. It's a bird. It's watermelon crawling. It's Tracy Byrd on the Music Universe podcast.
Where do you come up with this stuff,
I
Matt?
don't know. It's week 4 in isolation, and I've just had it because now I'm picturing Tracy Byrd flying through the sky on a watermelon. It's just not.
Okay, that's an updated animated video for Watermelon Crawl.
Yeah, really.
Oh man, it was such a pleasure chatting with him. Tracy Byrd, a lot of great country out of Beaumont, Texas there. Obviously that song, Keeper of the Stars, was huge. Hold in Heaven. We also talk about a couple of other more obscure songs that he's recorded and released, and super excited that he joined us.
Yeah, we talk about everything from his hits to new music to Texas music. This was a fun one. It went for about 33 minutes, so we're going to shut up now and just here's the interview. The legend himself, Tracy Byrd, welcome to the podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're hanging in there. You enjoying your time at home, or are you going a little stir crazy?
Oh man, I would rather be working for sure. Rather be on the road. I guess it's great to, or in one respect, it forced me to take a little time off because I'm usually not real good at doing that. But I've had enough. I'm ready to ready to get this over with. But I know there's a lot of folks out there, hurting, and I know they're all ready for it to get over with too, especially the wage workers and the folks out there that depend on their jobs every week. And heart goes out to them. We hope this will be over with quick, and also, our prayers go out to all the folks that have passed away and their families. And man, it's just been crazy. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's definitely something that everyone's calling the new normal. What are you doing to prevent yourself from going stir crazy?
We've been back and forth from we live down here in Beaumont, Texas, and we're about 60 miles from the coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and we have a place down there. So we've been able to spend some time down there, which has been nice. It's a little more distant, I guess you would say. There's not a whole lot of people down there, so it makes for a good spot to do pretty natural social distancing, and
Yeah.
So we've spent some time there just to kind of stay away, and but other than that, just working. I'm on the road so much that I had plenty of projects that I've been meaning to get to for a couple of years, and so those are getting done finally. So I do a lot of my own kind of repairs and that kind of thing. I enjoy that kind of stuff, and so I've been working on a lot of that.
Awesome.
I wanted to ask what it was like with road dates and stuff, when you started losing them, if anything's been rescheduled, and what you missed most about performing during this time.
Well, I miss, it's what I love to do. I miss the fans and miss playing music, and I've been, playing a lot of, sitting around playing guitar and done a few things online, and that's nice, but it's not, it's not like, nothing's like the real thing.
Right.
And, with a crowd right there in front of you. And so I'm missing that a lot, but we've had, I guess I've had 4 dates that actually canceled that we just had to do away with, which is not bad. We've moved probably another half a dozen to later this year, and we've moved a few that were like festivals and one like cancer benefit type thing that they just decided to just not do this year and just move them to next year. So basically that we still have those shows. It's just going to be a year before we play them. So we were really not starting the bulk of our really, really hard work until June. So if if this thing gets passed, I mean, a couple of the ones that canceled were in June. It was people that just didn't, if you're putting on a festival or something like that, or if it's a big fair, there's so much that goes into that these people had to just pull the plug because it was just so uncertain of if they would be able to do it or not, and it's logistically for those kind of people, there's so many volunteers involved and so many different things involved with a festival and a fair that, man, you just got to know if you're going to be able to do it or not. So they just had to, it was just the smartest thing for them to do, to just kind of pull the plug and move on to next year. And so I feel for those folks too, because that's just, there was tons of tickets sold to these things already, and they'll have a lot of work doing just to refund everyone's money or move it to next year. It's hard on the entertainment business, the restaurant business, the clubs and things like that. It's just really tough for them to deal with this, but it is what it is. You got to deal with it, and we're resilient, and we'll move on, and things will be good.
Yeah. Now, not to dampen any spirits or anything, but hearing a lot of talk this week, especially that experts and even state authorities are saying we shouldn't have any mass gatherings, concerts, any type of sporting events for the next up to 2 years. Are you concerned with that at this point?
Oh my goodness, that would be awful. I have not heard that. That's man, I don't know. Obviously I'm concerned. Absolutely, been concerned. I don't. I don't know. I wish. I've heard so many things throughout this whole situation that have, either not come to pass or been the wrong information, that I'm just not putting anything into anything until it's said and done. If that's what it is, then that's what it'll be. It'll be really sad. But if that's what it is and that's what it takes to keep people safe, then I guess that's what it'll be. But I certainly can't see that happening. 2 years, that's, surely we can harness this virus, sooner than that, and find a vaccine and get people back to living normal lives and enjoying ourselves and doing the things we like to do. But that's out of my control. That'll be up to someone else. And I'm a Christian, and I just I've recognized when things are out of my control and in God's control, and He's got the reins on all of that. And I just there's nothing I can do about that to change it or to speed it up or anything like that. I just have to, do the smart thing and stay calm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
100%. And I don't put any stock into these kinds of projections. I try to just play it day by day.
First time we've ever been in anything like this, we don't know what the future holds, and it's just best to just relax and just try to stay safe, and things will happen at their own pace.
Absolutely.
100%. Now, are you taking this time to work on any new music?
Yeah, I have been.
Coming to mind?
I have been writing. I had, that was another thing. I had some, a book of ideas that I always just, well, not a book really anymore. It's my phone, but I just jot them down and use my voice recorder and record melodies and things, and so then I come back to them, when I feel I have the time to really give them the attention they deserve, and so I've been starting to do that a little bit, and which is good because I really want to cut a new studio album. I would like to go in this winter and record a new studio album of all new tracks. We've got our Live at Billy Bob's album out right now, and so that's the first live album we had done, and so it's been out since last November, and so I haven't put out a new studio album since 2017, I guess. I did All American Texan, which was my last thing that I wrote a bunch of songs for and went in and cut them. And so it's about time to do that again. And I've got a lot of ideas, just got to finish them, and hopefully we'll be able to get in there in the winter and get some work done in the studio.
With the Live at Billy Bob's thing, I've always wanted to know, because I have a bunch of Live at Billy Bob's albums, yours included. What's that process? When you book the show, do they come to you and say you want to record? What's the outfit? Because that's like a whole series that they do.
It's a business partnership between Billy Bob's and Smith Music Group, which is out of Fort Worth. And they had asked me to do it many times through the years, but obviously when you're on a record label, the record label's not going to allow you to go out and do other people's projects. So I kind of had to just wait till the time was right, and we play Billy Bob's at least once a year, and this past June they got with us when we booked the show and said, hey, would you like to do the recording? And I said absolutely. And they had changed and started working with the people that I record my studio records, or I recorded my last one with, some folks out of Tyler, Texas. So I was happy about that. I was happy with who they were working with now, and said, yeah, let's do it. Let's record it. And it's really a simple process. I mean, they bring in all the equipment to the show, and you just do your normal set. You just do whatever you want to do, and they record the whole thing. And then we take it to the studio and mix it and master it and get it sounded and work on, sync it with the video, because we did a DVD also, and, video of the concert. And so all of that's done in post-production. And then that's it, really, just, kind of pick a cover and do a little of the artwork kind of stuff and get all the credits right. And they've got it down. I mean, I was their 53rd, I think.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And so, they've done it a lot of times. And so they got it down to an art.
Now, yeah, you mentioned that you got a DVD, you got a CD, and a vinyl. What's it like to finally release some vinyl again?
Yeah, that was the first vinyl we've ever had, and that's really cool. I mean, I grew up on vinyl, so I like having that out there and hearing the the little hiss of the needle on the vinyl, and it's pretty cool. The best thing about vinyl was artwork too. I always loved the artwork on the vinyl because it's bigger and you can see it and enjoy it. So pretty neat.
Yeah, and it looks like there's autograph copies that fans can buy on your website. I'm not seeing a track listing though. How many songs can we expect?
Well, on the DVD, on the CD, there is I think 17 songs. On the album, the LP, there's only I think we got 11 on there, because you're limited on vinyl. That's the one thing, you're limited to a certain amount of time you can put on each side. And it's like 37 minutes total, I think, on combined sides. So it limits you to how many songs you can put on it. But yeah, so the vinyl doesn't have as many as the CD and the digital, the stuff where you could get, like you get on iTunes and all that. There's a whole lot more songs on there.
So speaking of the songs and all of your greatest hits, I've always wondered, because one of my favorite country songs growing up, truly, because I had this, it was something called Ultimate Party Country. There was a bunch of artists on it. Your Watermelon Crawl was on there. And I have always wondered if we could pin you down for an interview, what that story is behind Watermelon Crawl, where that came from. That is just such a fun song.
Yeah, it is a fun song, and it was written. I didn't write that. Buddy Brock and Zach Turner wrote it, and they're old Georgia boys, and of course there's watermelon festivals all over the South, but especially in Georgia, and I think it was just just memories and thoughts of them growing up and going to these watermelon festivals, and one day they sat down and wrote Watermelon Crawl, but the story after I got a hold of it was that the head of A&R at MCA Records, which I was on at that time, she was leaving, and the day she was cleaning out her desk and everything, and headed out to go work for another record label, I came in the building, and she handed me a cassette tape. That's how long ago that was. And she handed me a cassette tape. She said, "Hey, I'm probably not supposed to do this. I should probably take this with me to my new job, but," she said, "I just really think you could do something with this song." And she said, "It's called Watermelon Crawl." And I kind of laughed, and I said, "Well, okay, I'll give it a listen," and I did. And the demo tape of it was nothing like our record turned out. In fact, it was really not good at all. Really, really bad. But the lyrics I thought were hilarious, and I thought the story and everything else was great.
Yeah.
But it really lacked any groove at all. It was real, almost mid-tempo, and just like I say, just not good. They missed it on it, I thought. And so I took it in the studio, and me and the musician sat there and listened to the demo one time, and I said, "Okay, I just wanted y'all to hear that, to write the chart." And I said, "But," and I grabbed my guitar and kind of played this little groove that I heard in my head, and I said, "I hear a guitar intro," and Brent Mason, who's just amazing, has been on every country record the last 30 years probably. I said, "I hear a guitar intro," and he immediately played. We went out there, and he said, "Like what?" I said, "Like something funky, and he immediately played that that lick.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Oh no, that's not it." And I said, "Whoa, no." I said, "That is it." I said, "That's exactly it." And he goes, "I could probably do something better." I said, No, please." I said, "Do that." I said, "I like that," and so he said, "Okay, all right." And so we played it, and the band just jumped right in there, and it was over in about 30 minutes, and we were done. So that it turned out to be just a huge record for me, and I'm so thankful that I ever got a hold of it, and it was a big hit and continues to be the most requested song in my shows. I mean, they start screaming Watermelon Crawl as soon as we walk on stage, and that's why I don't do it till the last song.
That's a great song and a great story, and it's exciting to hear that the demo wasn't like a lot of people would have just passed on it if the demo wasn't good. But that's good.
Well, I think it probably had been passed on a few times, yeah, because it was really, you really had to listen through it, and I had kind of learned by then that not to just pass immediately, if give it a little bit of a chance, and that one I was glad I gave it a little chance.
Oh, absolutely. And a song that I'm really fond of as well is "Lately Been Dreaming About Babies," and I haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not on an album, correct?
No, it's not. It's a kind of crazy story. We were working on that album. Joe Galante, who was the president at RCA, by this time I'm over on RCA Records, and which is where the lady went that left my other label, and that's how I ended up over at RCA. She invited me to come over there. But Joe was the president of B&A and Arista and RCA, and we were working on this record, and we get a call that Joe wanted to talk to us, like immediately. And so we go over there. The writer of that song was a guy named Reggie Ham, and Reggie, from the story I got, was looking for a record deal. And he came in and met with Joe and had his guitar, and he played this song called "Dreaming About Babies." And Joe said, "Well, look, man, I can't give you a record deal, but I got an artist that I would think would love to do that song, And so he called us over, and by the end had got the demo of the song, and he just wanted us to cut it. It was apparent that we were going to cut that song. And I really liked the song. I loved it immediately. I thought it was a great song. We recorded it and put it out as a single even before we were finished with the album. And it just didn't resonate, I guess, at radio. And I think it may have got to 30 or something like that, but just was not a big hit, you know. And I still have a lot of fans that ask me about that song because they really love that song, kind of like you mentioned it. And so when it wasn't a hit, I was like, well, you know, why, since we're not done with the record, you know, why put it on a record? Because, you know, nobody really paid any attention to it. And, you know, that would just clog up a slot that I could put something else on the record. And so that's kind of the story behind it. I don't even do the song live, you know, I mean, because a few people will ask me about it, but most people, you know, don't remember it. But thank you for speaking of it, because it was a good song and a good record. But just never saw the light of day.
Gotcha. Well, that's a shame, because that is a great song.
And I don't know of any other song that says Oldsmobile in it. I mean, they talk about Chevys and Fords all the time, but nobody ever talks about Oldsmobiles.
No.
And another song you've got that I feel like it was a little ahead of its time as far as where the music went, is your duet with Mark Chestnut. That's a good way to get on my bad side.
Yeah, now that record I love, and we did release that as the first single off of a 10 Rounds album. But Mark and I had been wanting to do a duet and had really put the word out, you know, and was trying to find the right song. And that song came across Billy Walker's desk, my producer at the time, and Billy said, "Man, I think this song might work for you and Chestnut." And sure enough, Chestnut loved it. I loved it. We went in and made a great record to it. I mean, jamming, really rocking kind of song. And you're probably right. It probably was a little ahead of the curve. I mean, you know, in the last 10 years, it probably would have been a big record. But country was kind of right on the cusp of making that, you know, that turn into what it has become. And so, yeah, we probably missed just a little bit. But that one still, I think we still had a decent hit with it. You know, it's still pretty well known. And, in fact, I play it. It's my intro music before we announce myself every night. That's the last song we play before we come out on stage. Mark, I try to get Mark to do it every now and then when we're on shows together, but he can't ever remember the words.
Well, my favorite line is, "and all that boy band crap." I love that line. It's like classic to me.
Gary LaVox with Rascal Flatts called me the first time he heard it, and he goes, "Are y'all talking about us? Is all that boy band crap?" I said, "No, man."
Oh, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. And of course, you can't talk to Tracy Byrd without talking about Holden Heaven. And just, I'll let you go again. The story there, how that came to you, how you worked on it, and because that kind of broke it through for you. And it's a classic today. It's still everywhere.
Interesting story. I had cut a full album with Keith Stegall producing, and of course Keith produced all the Alan Jackson records. Just a real successful guy, a great songwriter and singer, and we did the whole record, and we'd released a song I wrote as the first single called "That's the Thing About a Memory," and it did okay, but not what we were, you know, expecting. So the label got a little backed up a bit, and Tony Brown, who was the vice president at MCA, who's produced everybody, you know, George Strait, Reba, Winona, Vince Gill, you know, he's done them all. He said, "Look," he said, "you and Keith did a good record, but," he said, "I think we're a little short on real friendly radio singles, you know." He said, "What if we went in the studio, me and you, and cut like 3 more sides and just see what we think. He said, I got some songs. We'll put the feelers back out that we're looking for a few more songs. And he said, but I got a song right now. He said that Bill Kenner and Tom McHugh wrote. He said, and Bill brought it to me. And he said, but y'all were already done cutting. He said, but he brought it to me with you in mind. And he said, but y'all already finished the record. And so he played me Holding Heaven. And I loved it. I said, man, that sounds like radio, written all over it. So we went in and we cut Someone to Give My Love To, which was, I was a big Johnny Paycheck fan. I covered 2 of his songs, had hits on 2 of them. But we cut Someone to Give My Love To, and we cut Holding Heaven, and we cut a duet with the late Dawn Sears, who was one of the greatest girl singers in Nashville, in my opinion, and it's called Out of Control, Raging Fire. It was never a single, but I thought it was a really great addition to the record. And so anyway, after we got all those cut, they decided, well, let's release Someone to Give My Love To first. And so we released it, and it got to 16, I think. So it got a lot further than That's the Thing About a Memory did, and really got us some momentum. And we released the album on that single. And what got them, really fired up, they're all about sales is the ultimate thing. And we had Someone to Give My Love To out there, and we released the album on the single. And within, 4 or 5 weeks, we had sold like 280,000 albums. And so they were like, wow, people really want your product, And I said, good, let's get something else out. And so we come right back behind it with Holding Heaven, with a really, really fired up promotion staff and record label. And I think it took about 12, 14 weeks or something to get to number 1. And so that was a great song and good timing, and everything went really well. And of course the album went gold after that. And things just kept rolling from there.
Well, that's wonderful. We only have a few minutes left, and I wanted to ask your new album, the 2016 album, 2017 album, An American Texan. And you're a very, very proud Texan. And to close this out, what does it mean to you to be a Texan? Because Texans are so proud of where they come from. And I'm just so curious how that sits in your identity and what you love about being a Texan.
It's sometimes hard to explain, but when you're born here, for instance, this kind of explains it pretty well. Mm-hmm. You take Texas history in school in Texas before you take U.S. history. And that's
Makes
the
sense.
Truth.
I've heard that before.
And that's the truth. So that kind of puts the way we're all raised, We're raised to think us first, everybody else second. and that's kind of, the truth. And the whole, Lone Star flag, the Lone Star State, there's just, I think, from back all the way to the Alamo, we've always felt like it was us against everybody else, and that we were the best. Mm-hmm. So it's sometimes it's kind of arrogant, but we do think we're pretty special, and we think our state's really special, but I meet people from all over the country, and pretty much everybody loves where they come from, and proud of where they come from, and defend where they come from, and that's how we are here, and we're just maybe a little bit over the top with it.
Everything's bigger.
Yeah, everything's bigger, and we're a big state, and we encompass a lot of different types of terrain and territory and people and ethnicities, and it's a really unique place. And you just grow up loving it, and you grow up proud of it, and you like the kind of people that are here and what people stand for, and it's just an interesting place and a very prideful place, and there's a lot to sing about, I mean, there's a lot to write and sing about in Texas, and it's just the way, things are here. And that was, I all through my career, I was not, I was very upfront about being from Texas. I cut a lot of songs about Texas. Every night on stage, I had a 12 by 8 rug that was the Texas flag, and that's what I stood on every night. My guitar straps have the state of Texas on the strap, in a metal concho that was custom made with the state of Texas on it. And so I've been proud of that. But that particular record was like my answer to being there's a whole other type of music, which I'm sure you guys have heard about, the Texas music. It's a whole other genre all its own down here. And there's some great artists and great singers and songwriters involved in it that a lot of people all over the country have never really heard of. And that's changing though, with the different way people get music now and streaming and, Spotify and however else you may get your music. It's a lot of these Texas acts are getting discovered other places. And I think that's great because there's always been, all the way back to the days of, Jerry Jeff Walker and when there came Robert Earl Keen and, there's been these great Texas artists that just toured Texas and Oklahoma and kind of never really ventured far out of that. But that album was kind of my answer to, for years, the Texas music scene frowned on you and thought you were a sellout if you went to Nashville, and if you were a national recording artist. So that was kind of my answer to saying, hey, I might be a Nashville recording artist. I may tour nationally, but I'm still a Texas artist too. And so that was kind of my answer to all that.
Well, that is lovely, and the Texas pride is ever present in everything you do, and we're sorry you're spending a little bit more time there and not touring around the country coming up to us and playing for us, but...
Man, I am too. I hope it gets back to normal real soon. I really do.
Well, we do
Absolutely.
too. Tracy Byrd, thank you so much. This was fun.
Well, thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me on, and great interview, and good luck to y'all.
Thank you.
Hope
Thanks,
y'all
you too.
doing okay.
Same to you.
Yeah, and stay safe. We'll see you out on the road soon.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Have a good one.
Right.
You too.
You too. Oh, so pleasant to chat with Tracy. I saw him in February of 2019 at Buck Owens Crystal Palace. Met him, got a picture with him. Super cool guy, and it was a pleasure to interview him.
Oh, that was so much fun. And I really enjoyed that lesson on Texas music, and I love that he was so interested and open to talking about his hits and the deeper cuts, or in your case, some songs that didn't even make the cut.
Yeah.
On some records. So, is there a recording of that? Thinking About Babies?
Yes.
Or is it all? Yeah. Go ahead.
No, there is, because I was working at radio at the time it came out, and I fell in love with that song instantly. It's just so relatable in many ways, but not at that time. I mean, I was in high school, but just very, very nice ballad. And I'm so glad he recorded it. And, it was neat to hear the story of why that didn't make the album. And I asked Wade Hayes that on one of his songs too, because it's interesting to hear that these songs get released, sometimes maybe not in an album format, at least back in the 90s and early 2000s, before digital became such a big proponent of music, that they release a song to radio, you expect it will be on the next album, and oftentimes it isn't. So it's really neat to hear these stories.
Absolutely. So here's to the many more stories I hope we will get to hear on this show. But for the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And I'm Buddy. Thanks for listening, and keep checking out themusicuniverse.com.